technology point of view, at least from a talent development point of view, we've done better over the years. That being said, I think there's too much complexity around investing in Sri Lanka to even make it possible. I can share a whole bunch of real-world examples where we say one thing, do the other, and the consequences of that is essentially we don't get the investment. And also, unfortunately, contrary to popular belief, we don't have that big of an edge to drive significant change to the economy through technology. Slightly controversial thing to say, but I think there are certain things that there are expectations that are not met from the industry's point of view, from an infrastructure point of view primarily. And I think there is a long way ahead before Sri Lanka becomes kind of this technological epicenter. We had a conference yesterday night where we brought in kind of key leaders in the education space in Australia. These are the leaders of the biggest university businesses. And we are convincing them to invest in technology here. And the entire conversation's around a monkey and a transformer. And unfortunately, until we cross that bridge, it's really hard to drive this sector in any way, shape or form. Just to kind of add a little bit to what Derana says, because I feel like he's going to get cornered here, and I prescribe to the same theories that he does. Inflation is fundamentally a certain quantum of capital chasing a certain quantum of goods. As capital increases in circulation, then money, supply or velocity. So it depends
Supply
if you're going to modern
demand.
If we are
Doctor,
if we go down modern monetary theory and then look at the velocity of money, different conversation. But to kind of summarize what he said, right? If you take, for example, Japan, the lost decade of negative inflation, I feel like we'll need 3 mics.
no, I mean, let him answer after that and say.
But essentially, we haven't had a deflationary environment for prices to drop. If inflation today, like right now, it's at a low single digit. I think they just said single digit, low single. But regardless of who you take as the number, until there is a material deflation, prices should not move down. I don't think you need to safeguard local investors.
Yeah.
I think we need to understand that there is fundamentally, these are all what we're talking about are symptomatic issues. The reason whether the investment is foreign direct or local is less to do with the fact that there is a special benefit or anything. It's to do with the fact that underlying issue Sri Lanka has, we don't have policy stability.
Yeah.
Every week, the policy around whatever subject changes. We change our policy on VAT, we change our policy on tax, whether it's personal, corporate, we change everything. We were talking about the energy business that we were launching. The tariff rate of a project has changed about 3 times over the last 12 months. There is no way for a business, regardless. I mean, investors are investing.
Bhanuka.
The other thing is, I don't think as an entrepreneur, founder, or business owner, there is no expectation that everything will be constant and stable. I think we would like the philosophical understanding that at least you're batting on the same side, and that we have an understanding that the expectation from government, the expectation for the people and the businesses is that even if we do not have price stability or policy stability today, we are driving towards that stability, right? And the problem is, the thing about stability is you can't say that we will give you stability, you have to show it. The reason why businesses like countries like Singapore did really well in terms of foreign direct investment is they haven't changed their policies in the last 20 years.
Absolutely.
Look, I think eventually all things really do boil to consistency and stability, right? From an industry's point of view, a couple of points there. One, I don't think, and this is the controversial part, I don't think technology as an industry is enough to drive $15-20 billion to the Sri Lankan economy. I think it will drive a lot more than it is driving today. But we need to understand 99% of the technology work that Sri Lanka does is in the form of services, us included. We have, if you look at our revenues, 90% of our revenues are tied to labor, 10% is intellectual property. That labor pool, at least, the business that we are in, it's also incorporated outside. We've raised investment outside of the country to do that because our investors were too afraid of putting money in the country. We had moments in time where they followed the right protocol, open up the IIA account, set up businesses here. And when they have to make payroll to employees outside of the country, the bank goes, oh, we can't do that because the policy around sending foreign currency outside is now different. So in those scenarios, Sri Lanka will never build intellectual property within Sri Lanka in the form of technology. Because there's no benefit in doing that. I might as well set up a company in any part of the world, have the workforce here, have the intellectual property parked outside, get the governance and the protection and the stability of the country outside while still benefiting. So there is no rational argument to say we will build technology from a licensing and an intellectual property point of view. That'll never happen. So the only form of revenue driving Sri Lanka will get from a technology perspective is in the labor market. Right now, today, if you look at a standard technology consulting firm or a KPO, BPO, whatever, majority of that revenue does come to Sri Lanka.
Is it through taxation or is it really?
So from a current account perspective, we have 400 people that we employ. 70% of my cost base is labor. So even though the intellectual property is parked outside, the salaries are hitting personal foreign currency accounts of the 400 employees. So that is money that is hitting the balance sheet every single month. And 30% of that remaining is other overheads. So on the margin, we make 20%, 30% net margin. From that, 50% of the shareholders are Sri Lankan. So that money also comes back. And a very small amount of the money leaves the country. The reason why technology businesses, these BPOs and all of these companies are incorporating.
If that is the case, Bhanuka, then why are you continuously saying that we might not, this industry cannot pull that heavy weight that we are hoping that it could?
But why would I have an intellectual property product today? We are incorporated in the US because when we talk about an exit at some point, it's a lot easier for me to sell to a company in the US as an LLC than as a private limited company. What benefit is there for me to incorporate in Sri Lanka? Because the product that is created is by nature intangible. So I have all these benefits of incorporating it in the US, in Singapore, in UAE, in any part of the world. And if I do that in Sri Lanka, firstly, the taxation is quite strong. There's no benefit, there's no exit potential, liquidity is tight. Investors discount valuation based on risk. All of these multiple things happen. So even from the kind of the service sector for technology, we can't grow a service economy. Majority of the service sector economy in Sri Lanka in technology is driven through freelancers. People don't talk about it, people don't know about it, but that's where bulk of that dollar denominated revenue comes from. It's not from companies like ours, it's from individuals that work all around the world. That is what is the key driver. So from a technology point of view, technology has always been looked at as this high income labor force, right?
Yeah.
There is two very different sides of this equation that we're forgetting. One, the technology labor only exists with proper infrastructure. You need good access to internet, good access to electricity. You need essentially people have the ability to learn and educate in English. If you have those three things, the industry will run by itself without the intervention of anyone. The biggest value unlock technology can give is not the addition of labor. It is the subtraction of labor. If you look at all these government processes, let's take the company incorporation, right? We have a business that is involved in the business registration process. We've incorporated nearly 10,000 businesses over the years. We've built a front end, so entrepreneurs can go in, fill out all the systems, processes, hit submit. They can basically incorporate their company. But on the back end, it goes to a printer, someone takes the document, runs to the registrar of companies, get a signature, comes back, presses a button, so it shows the progress bar. All of this can be completely automated with a single API, right? The technology that can drive efficiency is not by protecting jobs and creating jobs, it's by removing jobs so it benefits the majority. So from a consumer's point of view, of government technology, I don't see it. We hold conferences, we fly clients in, we do all of these things, the visa process, entering
everything,
everything is a mess. I think you touched on a really wonderful point. You said that you have a strategy, you have a plan, but however the communication, what you were trying to communicate may not have been heard. So I agree with you. I think the bigger issue that we see from, at least from my point of view, from the government, is that the communication is very opaque. So I'll give an example, right? And this has been something that has been very controversial over the time, which is the vehicle imports. Vehicle imports, is it coming? Is it not coming? Why are we curtailing it? Should we curtail it? Do we have the balance to support the import? Should we be taxing it? And if you look at the populace's response to that, it has been very erratic because the policies and the expectations have not been kind of geared. Like even now, the objective is to have this very specific taxation. And you say, okay, we are going to charge this 20% surcharge because we want to curtail imports at the moment with the ability to relax it. Now, if the government is able to communicate it to a way saying, okay, right now, we do not have the funds to bring in billions of vehicles. And I think everyone understands that. However, the expectation is with our GDP targets, with our revenue growth targets, we would like the surcharge to go from 20% this year, 15% next year, so that over the next 5 years, taxes should be going down over this period of time. The permit holders will be treated this way, these people will be treated this way.
It's not holistic, you're right. Yes.
And I don't think people, and the problem with people is they don't have the same level of context and insight and whatever information is happening behind the scenes that you are privy to.
Yeah.
We are looking at the information that is carried out to places like all of you guys you are one of the biggest news media outlets, and you carry information to the public. The public does not have any context as to what is going on. I think I've communicated my thing as many times as I can. The only thing I would like to echo Dhananath's sentiment. I hope this doesn't become a forum that is used to remove the powers of the central bank to then fix the currency, and we will be in a completely different mess later on. I hope that's not the case.